What's going on, Mike of Via Trading? I'm here with Emma, and today we got two phenomenal guests that flew from across the country. From where? Arkansas.
Arkansas.
From the middle.
Arkansas.
Where'd you come from?
No, look, if you're going to say it properly, you got to say Arkansas.
Arkansas? I don't know if my face can say Arkansas and I'll get blasted online. Give it up for the family flips. Woo! No confetti? Nothing?
No, Luis didn't want me to use
No confetti. Okay, you're not that
no.
special, evidently.
Right.
No confetti this time around. I apologize.
It's okay.
That's a huge mess to clean up. I wouldn't want you to have to do that.
I mean, I would have danced in the
That's not
confetti,
very
though.
efficient.
That would have been great content.
Right.
We did it. What did we use confetti for before?
for the auction.
No.
Yes.
No.
We did auction. Oh,
20 years.
20 years too.
Said
We're
you
not more
fought me.
important than 20 years?
Emma,
What?
confetti.
Luis prohibited to me. He's like, I don't want you to start putting confetti in the story room.
Unbelievable.
Yes, he did.
I apologize.
No.
I am so sorry for
I
this.
just want you to know I'm incredibly offended.
It's Emma's first time
It is.
on camera in a
Right.
podcast.
It
She
is.
does not know that, I was going to say podcast. She does not know that confetti is a must at all times on every
Right.
single podcast.
Well, now I know. Now I know.
Yeah, we'll do
Now I
better
know.
next time, right?
Yeah, we'll do better.
All right.
Well, okay,
You
look.
got, you got
Way
this, Emma. You're doing
If
good.
we do this again, I expect confetti with glitter
Okay, now I know.
so that
Take
y'all
notes.
can be sweeping it up for 10 years.
Oh,
What
no.
color?
Sticky glitter.
Gold.
Both? The confetti and the glitter gold?
Oh, that's a hard
Purple and gold.
I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you on that.
See, the purple
Purple,
helps
I
because we got the
know.
purple light.
Right?
Look, if we have purple lights and we did silver,
Okay.
and then you could just have it like reflecting whatever color.
Okay.
I
Oh,
say
imagine that.
no glitter, no confetti.
I can see her.
I would.
Oh, her
I
little
would.
inflatable.
Yeah, I know. I can see that happening.
She would. We flew from Arkansas to see you. And,
Ta-da!
yeah, here we are. Time to
So
go
tell
home.
us a little bit about yourself. What do you guys do?
Whoa. Before that, hold on. Before we get into that.
Yeah.
Right before this, well, a little bit before this,
yeah.
you guys were in the middle of a,
Oh.
what are we going to call it? A rivalry, a competition?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The unspeakable, the
A
unnameable.
war of some sorts.
I have no recollection of whatever it is you're talking
I
about.
remember.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, so we did a little friendly competition, and it's something.
Oh, that thing.
Joe and I are both
Friendly
very, very
competition.
competitive people. I can't turn it off. Neither can he. It makes him for some very interesting content, but sometimes when the camera is off, it makes him some very interesting arguments as well. But we'll get to that. But yeah, so we went. We each found a pallet. We unboxed it. We went by retail value to see who picked the best pallet. And I'm telling you right now,
No, the highest retail value, not the best palette. Because that's different.
Subjective, okay. Okay. You got to give him something.
I'll give it to him.
He's like, I'll see you later. I don't know. I'll be careful.
Is that gonna be out before this goes out?
I think so.
That is a good question.
Well, you know what? I'm not gonna tell you the results because you may not, even if it's out, they may not have watched it yet. So
I
is
picked
true.
I picked the
That is
best
so
palette
true.
by far. I picked the best palette by far.
Yeah, so we'll rewind. They entered a friendly competition where they each had 5 minutes to run around our warehouse, select the best pallet. The highest value pallet under $850, no manifest, no nothing. What they could see is what they got.
Yeah.
That was
They
fun.
unboxed.
okay, no, it wasn't.
It was
Okay?
amazing.
Finding that I do not test well. It was a timed test. It was like 4:00 in the afternoon
It
in
was,
California, so it was hot. And I'm running around, and I can't.
You buckled
I
under
cannot.
pressure. That's
I
To
did.
be
It's
plain and
fair,
simple.
to be fair, she had already a palette.
Thank you.
She
Emma.
already
Thank
had a
you.
palette.
Yeah.
I thought I was her cameraman, so I was like, camera woman, cameraman. And I thought, okay, she's going to come back to this one. Like, this is her plan A.
Yeah.
Well,
But
then,
I saw her struggling.
well, here's what happened.
And I was like,
I see that.
I went to a back
I have it in
corner
footage.
and I saw these gorgeous palettes.
Yes.
Okay, I got distracted.
I wanted to help her.
Let's just say what it was. I was like,
she got distracted by the eye candy.
I was like, I was like looking for one, and I'm like, oh, these are so nice. Then I went down, and then I kind of forgot that, like, I was like, oh no, and then I heard Mike yell, 1 minute, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, I'll just pick one of these, and then I'm like, the rules stated no manifested pallets. Every single one of them was manifested.
She went
and I'm
to
like,
all the way in the back in the warehouse. And
She's
I was
like,
oh
oh my
no.
God, what am I gonna do?
But I was like, she's gonna come back. She's gonna come back to the one, to the pallet A. And I was gonna tell her, I was like, go back to the pallet A. But I was like, no, it's gonna come in the video. So I just let her struggle. And
Thank
I feel
you.
bad.
Again.
I feel bad. But yeah.
Pressure makes diamonds.
Right.
you know what though? It's
I
like
can't wait to see that. I want to watch that.
I was so stressed out. That was
I
so
wanna watch
stressful.
I
That
lived
was-
part of it, but I want to see her.
Struggling.
I want to see it. I do.
Her face was really
I do.
frustrated.
Oh, I know. I can imagine what it was like, but I want to see it.
I think you're
If
gonna
I
have a hard
never
time
see it
editing
again, I would be
Yeah.
totally okay
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't
Clip
wait.
it.
It was pretty
I mean,
I say that, and I
we
know that y'all and him are gonna make shorts and reels of
Everywhere.
That
You know
It's
what?
gonna
I
be
mean,
everywhere.
I had so
And
much
watch it
time.
go- it's the one thing I
gonna
don't
go
want to go
viral.
out, and it's gonna go
a
viral.
meme. Oh my god.
Yeah, I stopped and I was educated on,
You had one
on
job.
what to look for, how to look for it, why I chose the palette that I did, and she couldn't even pick a palette within the time. And I'm like teaching people what to do, and I still had time to spare.
Time
She
me.
was doing
You have to time me.
fine. She was doing fine. I saw you because I was following her. You were doing fine. Like, okay, no, I don't want clothes. So she knew, okay, I don't want clothes. I don't want this. I want general merchandise. Mm-hmm. But then the thing was more like,
I was
I
yelling
think it was
out.
really pressure because you were really paying attention to him, what he was doing. And on top of that, Mike was
Well,
yelling.
my
and
goal.
you had a camera, and it was hot, and it was running, and you have the lighting in your
Well,
face.
because if he
I
was
like,
going down an aisle, I'm not going to waste my time going down the aisle that he went down. Because
I
if he
just
didn't
said that,
stop
yeah.
and he didn't pause, he didn't see anything. So I'm not going to waste my time because I trust that he's not going to let it slide through the cracks. So I need to get to an aisle that he hasn't gotten to yet. That was my thought. That's why I
Yes.
was looking at him.
Yes.
Was because I'm like, he's going to spot something. He's going to stop. Even if he's like, well, maybe. I would have seen him slow down, and I would have been like, I'm going to go check out that pallet that he just checked out that he passed on. But I know that he wasn't going to stop by a really awesome pallet and not do anything. So if he just walked straight down an aisle,
it was nothing.
I'm not going down that aisle.
Dude,
That's why I
would've
was looking.
controlled that situation. So I would have stopped at every 3 pallets and be like, ooh,
But
that
he didn't
one's
know.
good.
But I know, and if he had done that, it would have messed me up. But he was
Yes.
so
Messed
so
up even
hyper
more.
focused.
It was tough to choose.
If he had known I was watching him,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
totally would have
What
done
do you
it.
think it was like tough to choose? Like,
I mean,
from
it was
the
just,
warehouse?
it was the part that was tough was, it wasn't tough like once I was in the unmanifested area. Like that was easy. It was finding the unmanifested without really having a lot of experience in the warehouse because they're just, they're kind of mixed in everywhere. You have some that are manifested in the same row, some that are unmanifested, and knowing that like I didn't want case pack, I was looking for customer returns. It was a bit challenging to find those, and then within those, trying to think based off of what I already know about those types of pallets, which one I thought would yield a high value based off of my information. But once I figured out the section that I was going to have to go
I see.
with, it was very easy because I very quickly was able to narrow it down to like 2 pallets. It's liquidation, customer returns. You never know what's in the box until you even open the box. It could be, $1,000 TV box, but there could be a $15 picture frame in there that somebody sent back. You never know.
Have you ever experienced something like that when you bought a pallet or truckload from somewhere? You're like, oh, yes, got this beautiful high-value item. You open it and, well, not there.
So,
Yes.
one time we actually had bought, it was like, I think it was one of our first truckloads, I think.
Yeah.
It was one of our first truckloads. It was Amazon returns. And we came in, we got one of these pallets, and at the very bottom was a large cardboard box, but it had what we thought was a beautiful farmhouse sink in it. Because here's the
Ceramic.
thing. Ceramic, that's what it was, yeah. Ceramic farmhouse sink. And
It's like
the-
$1,500.
after
scam.
this, we learned not to price anything before you inspect it. Okay, because here's what happened: we got the box, it felt heavy. We put it on there. We scanned it. We're like, it's 1,500. Was it 1,500? Yeah.
Yeah.
$1,500. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And I think we were actually filming at the time. So like we were just like, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
This is gonna be great. I'm so excited. We open it. The thing is shattered.
Yeah.
And so
Shattered.
were our dreams.
Not just like, not like 5 pieces.
Like
It's literally in hundreds of pieces.
It was
in this
confetti.
box.
Oh my god.
And but I think
it was so bad.
we bought a manifested truckload. It's like high piece count load is probably we paid $25,000 for it. And the common trend amongst that load is what every high value item that we found, the boxes were empty.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Right? So talking like all the cell phones, they're supposed to be like, real nice $500 cell phone, box empty. Supposed to be like real nice gaming mouse, box empty. Granted there was some in the bottom, but if it was on the top foot and it was there, boxes were empty. It was just put back in there, And I'm like, who do you pin that on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you
Is it
talk
like
to
the
about that?
person who's providing the merchandise
Right.
before the return,
Right.
or is
Right.
it the shipping?
Right. So
It's a lot
needless
of
to say,
hands.
we did not buy from that person again.
Okay.
Just because we began diving in further into business practices and other things kind of came out. We did more research. We probably should have done more research on the front end,
Sure.
But,
a lot of our advice
you know.
comes from the fact that we made that mistake
From
already.
mistakes, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you learn. And you don't know what you don't know, ultimately.
You don't
so
know.
when you found out that you got all these items, the higher value
Yeah.
items, they're empty, did you reach out to the company?
Oh yeah,
Did you do
for
anything
sure.
about it?
I called them like, hey, like, what's going on with this? And they're like, because I'm thinking, I worked retail, for many years. Like, I understand, like, it could happen there. Understanding, how big box and online retailer the process works. And I'm like, it'd be very hard for that many items to come up missing at the retailer. I'm like, this had to be.
It was not only one item, two
Right,
things. It was
right. This had to be something that probably came from the company itself, that there had to been something going on somewhere. Granted, I'm not pointing fingers. I don't know, because it could have been on both fronts. It could have been happened at the facility, and then it could have happened there. But they're like, well, it's liquidation. There's no guarantees. It's manifested. It's just part of liquidation. I'm like, I get it. 'Cause, we had probably already bought 10, 15 truckloads at that point. It's like, I understood. I just had never experienced that large of a percentage of the high value items missing, especially, other manifested loads that we were buying for $40,000 and $45,000 that had every, the top 300 items on there. We were very easily able to locate every single one of those items without any issues, and no missing, no nothing. So it's part of it.
Yeah. Overall, were you able to turn a profit on that load, or?
Yes, for how we sell. We sell in our store. We sell online. So how we sell, yes, we were able to do that. But if we didn't sell online and we were able to, get some of the higher ticket items that were, let's say higher ticket, there was some items that were still there, that without getting the higher value for it, we wouldn't have. But thankfully, we sell in multiple different ways so that we were able to get money out of it and recoup to where it wasn't a complete loss.
That's the important thing too, because that's what a lot of our customers
Yeah.
get into. Like, one thing works for them, and they just say that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why, for example, I have here, Mike. I'm learning as I'm going as well, and it's like, no, you have to diversify. You have to
Yeah.
find all the ways to, bring your business to the table,
Yes.
like online business. If it didn't work out, I heard you say, no, we did a little stand
Yeah.
when it was COVID time, and we did this and didn't work out, and we did that. So I think that's really important how you guys kind of
Yes.
like not just didn't took the loss or the
Yeah.
L, how they say about it, but you actually like, okay, let's.
You got to get creative. I think that's my favorite thing. Reselling, it's not just about buying liquidation. Reselling is all kinds of things. You've got people who go to thrift stores and estate sales. They buy
Yes.
things and they sell it. So it really depends on where do you want your challenge to be. Do you want your challenge to be on the sourcing side, which is where am I going to find products that fit the bill of how I'm going to sell? Or do you want the challenge to be on the other end, on the moving side? Which is what you do in liquidation, which is now I've got these products, how am I going to move them and turn a profit? It's two different things, and
things,
it's different for everyone. So when we have liquidation and we're buying it, we always have to be creative. And one of the things that we do is we don't put all our eggs in one basket because,
Good.
you know, we sell online, right? Well, what if the platform that we're selling on messes up? What if the server goes down? What if something happens? Like, okay, until that's fixed, how are we going to still continue to pay our employees or feed our families or put food in our fridge or whatever? Well, we also have a local way. And so with a lot of people who ask me, you know, what is a piece of advice you can give me between, you know, when I'm starting off reselling, I'm like, find a local way and an online way to move your product. Because if one goes down, you still got the other one to rely on, because anything outside of your control can happen.
And did you automatically start diversifying, or did you start retail or flea market or online?
We usually master one first.
Okay.
You know, I know that online, Joe had been selling online since before we were married. So it was something that he kind of already had mastered.
Yeah.
When we diversified our product, which we started kind of, we knew consumer electronics. You know, we knew that. And then we weren't able to source as much. So we found some general merchandise. I think our first pallet was of home
It was like appliances and pots and pans.
Yeah, and so we did that, and then we kind of diversified a little bit more. Now we do general merchandise, so we can pretty much find out a little bit about everything.
in it.
You know, and so we start with that. But you know, I think it's all experiments. So it's like, you know, we tried the flea market thing. You know, we don't know much about flea markets, but we looked through flea markets. We saw what sold, what didn't sell. We're like, well, maybe we can move this product here. It was okay. It didn't work. You know, it wasn't worth the time and the effort for us, but for other people,
It works.
it works great,
Yeah.
depending on your region or who's around you or who's in the community that's buying from that flea market. So it wasn't great. It wasn't great for us, but I don't regret trying it. You know, and then the bin store was an experiment. We just needed to move a lot of smaller items, and it was an experiment that went so well that, you know, we had to transfer to a bigger store almost immediately, because we were just like, well, we can't just, it's working so well, we can't just let it go.
Yeah.
So who started the reselling on this?
I did.
How do you come up with the idea?
So I was married before, and my ex-wife, she wanted to be an audio engineer. So I found a job in Nashville, Tennessee, and we moved to Nashville so that she can go to audio engineering school, and we went from 2 incomes to 1. I was working for Cracker Barrel as a manager at that time. It's where I got a job, but we still needed more money, you know. So I just started selling stuff around the house, whatever I could find, calculators, DVDs, books, clothes, whatever. And then once I sold all that, I went to Goodwill's on my day off, and I would start off with jeans, women's jeans, because I could quickly look at the hems of the jeans and the patterns on the butt to see if they were nice jeans or not. And I started doing that. And then one day I heard an advertisement in a Goodwill for shopgoodwill.com. And that's where they put a lot of their higher end stuff. And I went there and I'm like, oh, you can buy lots of stuff. Like not just one item. So I'm thinking of scaling. Like you spend a lot of time sourcing. I would go to like 7-8 stores in one day to get 20, 30 pairs of jeans. And I'm like, I could shop now from my home, never have to leave, and I can use all that sourcing time to now list. So I bought a bunch of cell phones. I started buying cell phones through there. Like you buy, like old. This was back in 2000 and what year is it? 2023. This is like probably 2012, 2013. So like back then it was like the LG Accolades.
Yes.
Like little flip phones. Like I would get so excited. You know, the LG VX 9100. Like when they had like the sliders and the flip phones. You know, you get some iPhone 3Gs back then. You know, so that was it. You know, but then I got promoted with Cracker Barrel to general manager. I didn't have to resell anymore. You know, and I got tired of all that stuff of working in the corporate world, and I still had cell phones. And I had a box of cell phones in storage that I had left over, and we just grew from there, from cell phones, and then, you know, her and I met, and we, at that point in time, you know, started in the house. We had employees that would come to the house. I always like scaling. I work in the corporate world, so I always like, you know, how do I scale the business? How do I figure out how I can do this to create more time for myself? So very early on, I'm like, I would enlist people to list phones for me. I would give them 100 phones. They would take it to their home. It was almost like contract labor, you know, and I did that. Then I would take care of the pricing, all the other stuff, and the shipping, and then they would do all the listing stuff. And when we got married, we kind of did the same thing. And then
And during that time, you were also, I'm sorry for interrupting, but during that time, you were also working?
No,
at
I had
you
quit. I quit working probably right at 10 years ago. I left. I was a food and beverage director for Hilton Hotels. And I was just opened up a new Hilton Hotel in Little Rock where I was at. And I just, I put my notice in on a Monday, and I got a camper, moved into the camper, started flipping cell phones.
That's a question that I have too, because
yeah.
a lot of people that have that, I would say, fear
Yeah.
to quit their job. And they're like,
Right.
okay, it's going good in my business,
Right.
right? But when did you know? Like, okay, it's me, I see
Yeah.
more income, like, you know, the
Yeah,
balance. Like,
for me, I wouldn't recommend my route to anybody because I had nothing, right? For me, I just knew I was going to do whatever it took to make it work because I believed it, right?
So you jumped off the cliff.
I
no
just
safety
jumped,
net,
but that's
no
for me.
parachute.
I am an all or nothing person. I don't do well when there's a safety net.
He also
Right.
did not have a family.
I
at
didn't
the
have a
time.
family,
He didn't have,
so
you know,
if
we
I
hadn't
was,
met.
because I just, went through a divorce and I was like, I'll just do my own thing. Like because I could go without eating. Like if I didn't have money to eat, I was fine. Just give me some water and I will persevere. It was harder when we had when we got married and we have a daughter and we started having more kids. Because it was like we had an 81 square foot bedroom, and at that point we were probably doing $10,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month on eBay with cell phones. Then we grew into, I guess it was 1,000 square foot little office building, suite, and we hired a couple employees, and we were doing $500,000 a year in sales in used cell phones.
and during that time, she was also, you were already, did you had a job or did you?
So before Joe and I met, I was a preschool teacher, and so it was one of those things where I didn't want to leave my kids after we got married in September, but I quit at the beginning of August because I didn't want, because the school year started, and so it was one of those things where I was like, I didn't want these nervous kids going into preschool. I do kindergarten prep, so that's what I did. I kind of the older preschoolers, and I didn't want them to get used to me, just in time for me to get married and then quit.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those things where Joe and I kind of talked about it, and all of that. It was not the right decision. I probably should have stayed another year, honestly, if I had to think about it, because
Yes.
that income
In
was
retrospect.
I was
consistent.
gonna,
Yeah.
In retro, and that's one of those things where we tell people like, hey, look, this is how we did it. I don't recommend
Yeah.
it because we made mistakes,
Yeah.
and I'm not ashamed to tell people my mistakes so that everybody else can
Yeah.
be fully informed. Because I think if, I probably did have a couple of people being like, are you sure this is what you want to
Right,
do?
right.
And I'm stubborn, so I did it anyway. But in retrospect, if I could do it over again, I don't know, because I learned so much.
I was
Yeah.
about to
I
ask
think,
you
know,
that.
It
Yeah.
worked out.
It worked out,
yeah.
but I can't say that's going to be the same for everyone.
Right.
You know?
I think during that time is like we had all the time in the world and no discipline, right? So with that, it's like, if you don't want to work, you want to go for a walk in the park, you can do whatever. But if you're not actively putting items available for sale, your sales will start to go down.
So one
And-
of the things that
yeah.
you learned, what was it? Like, let's say, I would say, for example, my case, right?
Yeah.
Like, I learned here to be disciplined, or
Yeah.
I have to schedule myself. Things that outside of the
Yeah.
real world, I don't have.
Yeah.
I'm not used to do it. So, what things did you had to learn in order to be like, okay, this is my business, this
Yeah.
is my money, that you were like, I have
Right.
to.
I think one big thing that we made the choice to do that was like the determining we took it serious as a business and no longer a hobby as we moved it into that 1,000 square foot building. And
Now you
it
had
was
overhead.
it was out of the house. It was no longer this is just a casual hobby type thing.
Right.
We moved it outside of the house.
I think it's also important to note that we learned a lot in that year, because it's been longer than a year.
Right.
A couple years, because I think not only did I start working for the business, but we were also newly married.
Oh, wow.
So this is and that it's like one of those things where it's like I don't know if I can isolate what it is that I learned for the business, because for one, we're new spouses. Any new marriage is going to have there's going to be that honeymoon stage that's like about 4 months long, that 4 months long thing, and you're like, man, Joe does not pick up his socks off the floor. Like I can't do that. You know what I mean? And then all those small fractures, like marriage puts pressure on those things, and so those things start coming up. But then also, we're only making maximum $10,000 a month on eBay.
That's not profit. That was revenue.
Yeah, so we're not making any money.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at this is back when eBay did, they would just transfer the money to
PayPal,
PayPal.
you get sell.
So we would watch the PayPal sales until we had enough money to get dinner for the next meal. And we were going to Kroger twice a day because that's all we had. So financial stresses, I mean, it's just all of this stuff that is all piled up, and I think that ultimately what got us out of it was that we had to choose to communicate. Like, we had to choose to be like, look, we have to take responsibility for what's going on in ourselves. And I had developed it's not like a disdain, but I almost like a jealousy for the business. It was almost like, we got married, and I kind of thought we'd be working together, we'd be seeing each other all the time. This is going to be really great. And then come to find out, like, in order for us to be able to eat, Joe's having to be not paying attention to me or to our daughter or anything, so that he can go in and get work done, because he has to provide. Like, he has to, we had to get that done. But I understood that on a level, but on another level, like, I also had needs as a new wife to be with my new husband. And so that caused problems. So I can't say that was something that's only devoted to the business, but communication was probably one of the biggest lessons that we learned those years.
And it helped in both ways, in the family way and also the business way.
Yes, because at the time, I mean, it's a lot more separate now, because it can be, we can afford for it to be. But at the time, the business was our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no separation.
Yes.
Also, it's like we had to figure it out. We were talking about, problem solving, that type of stuff. Like, I had to figure out a way to make it work. And with that, you try a lot of things. It's like Thomas Edison, how many light bulbs did he make before he found the one that actually worked?
Yes.
Right?
I thought it was just one the first time, wasn't it?
And so many people, they try something, it doesn't work, and then that's it. They don't try the next thing, So it's like, I always look at it, it's like, it's not about what didn't work. It's like, I failed, I messed up. Like, no, I figured out what not to do. Mm-hmm. And it further, it kind of teaches, like, well, if that didn't work, that's okay. That means that something else will work. And then you keep trying stuff, and even today, like, I still change stuff all the time. And it may not even have to change in that moment, but I want to know that when I need to in the business and we need to pivot, we need to do this, we need to do that I have an arsenal of things that I've already tried that I can look like, we can do this when this happens, if this happens. But that only comes by trying things and failing. Like, we failed a lot.
I was going to ask you, how many times did you guys,
a lot. It's like
I can't count.
Our first truckload, we went from, how we got into liquidation was the market shifted, like she talked about, and I went online and I bought a pallet, and it sucked.
And he did not inform me of the communication, right?
Right.
He did not inform me that he was going to buy this pallet. And he's like, it's going to be great. I see so much potential. I see, oh my gosh, it's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right,
it was only like,
we're going to do this.
It was like $350 delivered.
Do you remember what type of product categories it was?
I know, isn't it?
It was in retrospect,
she's laughing.
it was salvage. I didn't think, like, salvage. I just looked at, I see Instapot, I see Ninja, I see this. I see potential, but it was salvage.
When you say salvage, you mean salvage like a salvage yard or salvage?
It was graded as salvage. In liquidation, you have like grade. Shelf pulls, customer returns. It was graded as salvage.
Okay, got it.
But we did not know what that meant. It was in the description. It's not like it was hidden or it was any fault of the liquidator whatsoever. We just didn't. We didn't do liquidation, so we didn't know. He saw the potential. He told me it was going to be great. Now, granted, we didn't have a lot of money just to spare. But we were kind of in, both of us in our own way, were kind of in panic mode that we did consumer electronics, and we were running out of products.
It changed quickly.
It was fast.
Margins, like we were buying cell phones for like $5 a piece, selling them for $30, $40, and they went up to $15, $20 a piece almost overnight.
Wow.
There was no time.
Yeah.
So we were like, we have to do this. You know, and I understand, you know, why he did it. I wish that he would have talked to me
Right.
first, but I would have told him no.
Yeah.
And he knew that.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but,
He just went again.
Yeah,
There
so
you
he was
go.
like, I'll ask for forgiveness later. We got to get this done.
Yeah.
She's not
And
going to
I- and
understand.
I'm more
And
like-
I get it.
yeah.
But
I am a let's act now, figure it out as we go. She is a let's gather as much information as we can so that we can make an educated decision. And
She's
very early
analytical.
on, like those
He's-
were competing, and it caused a lot of friction.
we didn't know how to navigate both.
Yeah.
Right? We thought it had to be one or the other, but it doesn't. But like with this, fast forward, we get this pallet in. It's so big we can't even fit it in the door of our office building. So we're having to unload this outside. And I'm just like, I'm getting stoked because he's talked this up to me. He's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So we open this, it's like a Gaylord pallet. We open this box, I pull it out and I'm just like, yeah. And I pull it out and the whole front panel falls off. It's funny now. I could have punched this kid. I could have punched
That's
him.
what they're gonna start
Like-
like. We're gonna
Yeah.
laugh about this later on.
If he had said that, I would have. No, just kidding. But like, really, it was. I don't even think I was angry at that point. Like, if I go back, I mean, I would like to say that I was angry, but honestly, I was just
Disappointed.
I was devastated
Yeah.
because. I mean, I guess at that point I was teetering on the edge of devastated because it was just one item. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, you know what? It was just the first one. It's not a big deal. He pulled out a coffee pot that was missing pieces, and then we pulled out another, and I'm just like,
Looked like a forklift had went through the front of an
Oh my
Instapot.
God.
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, it was.
Yeah,
And
food
so-
dehydrators
like,
that
oh, it's
still
just
had
greasy, like, you
it's
know, we're like,
still
oh,
had
well,
Well,
like,
I'm trying to be hopeful, but
Yeah.
with every item that was coming out, I wasn't angry because I think on some level, like I understood like why we had to do this. I just didn't understand why everything was broken, and it
Yeah.
wasn't until we went back and looked at the listing that we're like, that's what salvage
Yeah.
meant. That's when we were like, and again, the lesson that was learned was always check the descriptions, always check, you know. So
yeah.
and we're very good at checking descriptions now.
Yes.
We will never make that mistake again, you know? And so that's, honestly, we learn a lot of our lessons that way. And sometimes I wish that we could just listen to others or like, you know, sometimes I wish that we could just
Yeah.
avoid that problem. But that is such a strong lesson now. And every time somebody asks me for advice, I'm like, hey, look, don't do that.
Yeah.
Because I did that and I didn't sleep for weeks
Yeah.
because, you know, I mean, we ended up, I was sitting there spending hours trying to take all the broken coffee pots, make a couple of good coffee pots. Like, I'm trying to
That
make
was
as
going to be my
much.
follow-up question.
Yeah.
What was the outcome with
That
that
was
pallet?
Yeah, it's we pieced together what we could tell, what we could sell. We sold what we could sell. We took a pot and pan set home that we still use to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I gave a bunch of stuff away to employees, and I threw the rest in the garbage.
So
And
you
I
gave your employees a bunch of broken crap.
the
that you
good
didn't-
stuff, the good stuff,
We,
not the broken
Hey,
stuff.
by the way,
we-
you
the
watching
good stuff.
Working for the family flip.
We're like, if you still have that pen,
Ultimately,
you know where it came from.
profit-wise, we managed to get our money
Yeah.
back.
We got our
But
money back.
We
Okay.
didn't profit. I mean,
And,
and that we had to
yeah.
try
Huge
really
at that
hard.
moment in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like I got on the phone, like I need to call somebody. I need to talk to somebody, tell them what kind of business I have, how I'm selling, and see what they can recommend. So we got these 4 huge monster 6 to 9 foot tall pallets, had them shipped from 12 hours away, and that the picture that you were looking at earlier,
Yeah.
the big
That's
that
one of
was
that was one of them.
Yeah. So we had 4 of those delivered, and the first pallet, because we had to downstack them all to get them inside of the building. First pallet was a 3D printer that paid for like 2 of the pallets, right? And then from that point forward, I'm like, we need to do this. We're moved into a 2,500 square foot warehouse in probably a month. Ordered our first truckload, and then we sold that like before Christmas. Had another load come in January, and I'm thinking these high piece count pallets. I'm like, we can sell all this online. I get it in, and I start pricing everything. I'm like, 60% of this is under $12. I will never be able to sell this online for profit. So in our warehouse, we opened up what are now known bin stores, and we sold through a lot of it. And then that program, we couldn't even get anymore because it shouldn't have even been sold. It was
Recyclables.
correct. At that point, we had 2 kids, 2 newborn kids. We had 3 kids. 2 of them were in diapers, and we were still struggling because we still lost a lot of money off. Not really lost a lot of money, but we failed a lot during that. That was a very humbling experience.
There was a
that
point in
we
time.
grew into this this warehouse. I thought I was living the high life, was doing good. We started a YouTube channel. We had already started before that, but we had the YouTube channel and doing that, and we get contacted by a production company wanting to do this TV show, and behind the scenes, like, we are struggling.
Our marriage is struggling.
Yeah.
Our finances are struggling. I mean, and that's one of those things where it's like, we could be sitting here on this nice couch in this beautiful room, and we're all made up and we're in our nice clothes, but like behind closed doors, like, we were falling apart.
Yeah.
Like, we were not okay.
And that wasn't all liquidation. Like, that was internal manifestation of our inward world that was being played out in all that we did.
But
risk taker, not risk taker, no communication
completely,
whatsoever.
And on the outside, we just got called in for a TV show. Our YouTube channel is growing. We've got this nice warehouse. Everything looks so great. People are looking out at us, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to keep this up, because it's all going to come crashing down at some point. Yeah. There's no foundation.
What's the time frame between all this, from that
This
first
was around-
pallet of salvage to what you're describing now?
2018?
Had it been 19? Well, yeah, 2018.
I thought we bought the first pallet before Lucas was born. Was it after Lucas was born?
Yeah. So August,
Okay,
get our
what he
first
said.
pallet, move into a warehouse, 2,500 square foot warehouse.
It was
4 months later, right? And then
It came
closed
down
the warehouse
fast.
down in like April of that following year. So it was like an 8-month, like,
Yeah.
And then
You
after
know.
that, we went through a period of time where we pretty much cocooned. I mean, we did some unboxings in our garage. We did a vlog, maybe once a week, but a majority of what was spent was trying to get our house in order.
yeah.
We learned how to communicate. We went through the process. We went through introspection. I went to therapy. He went to therapy too. But I can't speak for him. I went to therapy, and I still do to this day, because it's been it's a good thing to be able to process everything and figure out, okay, well, why do I think that? What led me to believe that, And so we went through this, like, I don't know what to call it. I call it my
reborn
cocoon.
kind of thing, I would say. Like,
Yeah.
let's go back.
We went back.
Yeah.
We moved everything back into the garage. We made it manageable internally.
Like, it's like a humble, like,
Yeah, it
humble
was very
down.
humbling,
Yes.
like, slow down. For me, it was extremely humbling because up to that point, like, when I worked in restaurants, I was the overachiever. I went from, like, when I worked for Chili's, I went from server to manager in a year and a half. At that point in time, it took people 5 and 6 years, right? When I worked for Cracker Barrel, I went from assistant manager to a general manager in a year and a half. I was it, by the time I was 30, I ran a company. I had 500-something employees and was over 13 restaurants. I was...
And that's something really important to see, for example, because we have people, like single people, they want to start their own business. We also have couples here, they have their own business as well. But like you said, they need to, like, first have a base, like you guys wanted to have, and communication, everything, and they need to get used to, like, that peak time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's going to be a really hard downtime. And that's where you're like, I need to know my business, I need to know my marriage, and I need to know if that person's the right partner in the business perspective as well.
And I think a big thing is you're talking about, like, liquidation is such a roller coaster of emotions.
We do say that.
Right. And it's like the one
of the things that Mike told me, like, don't get too high, don't get too down. It's going to be
I have tried to
crazy.
learn, because even like, oh, we're doing amazing. Let's go out to eat. Let's go do this. And then sales slump. And I'm like, crap, we could really use that money. So I've really tried to learn, and that really probably the last year is trying to level out the emotions, to try to level it out. We crafted during that time as well. We moved back into the home, into the garage, a sourcing strategy that worked for us. That's where we come up with, like, the time, space, money. How much money do you have to be able to purchase stuff? How much time do you have to invest, and how much space do you have available? And that's your sourcing strategy. You source according to that.
Write it
And-
down, people.
And then if you
That's
grow, you can't just grow in just space. You can't grow in just time. They have to, when you grow, you have to grow
They have
them
to coexist.
together.
Or try exist.
Try exist, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you have more time, then don't just keep expanding your time. Don't keep it, or if you have more space, don't just keep expanding your space. If you expand your space, you're going to need more time. You're going to need more capital. So you have to grow them
At the
together.
same
Right.
time,
You know, it's
yes.
also within that. Like if you don't have a lot of time, then you want to buy items that are brand new, that don't require
Yes.
any
Yeah.
inspection whatsoever, that you can easily make them available for sale without having to inspect them. But also, those are more expensive. That's
Yes.
why
Yes.
you need to have
Yeah.
more money. But if you don't have a lot of space,
Don't buy furniture.
don't buy large items, you know, buy smaller things, you know. But
Things
if
that can
you,
fit in boxes.
Right, if you don't have a lot of money but you have a lot of time, you can buy customer returns or salvage lots that might need a little tinkering. So for us, we fine-tuned that sourcing strategy. For us, we wanted to sell online. So we
So
would
you niche down. I would
we
say.
niched
You
down. So we would buy items that we could, most of the stuff you could buy online and could ship right to our home. So we would buy pallets of medium box stuff that we could unbox and that we could sell on Facebook Marketplace, put some of the more expensive items, the items that would move quickly on Facebook, we put them on eBay. But also we looked for a lot of smaller lot stuff that would have 20, 30 small items in one little box that we could sell online. You know, but then we started accumulating, because you buy medium box pallets, not everything that you get off of those is $50 items.
Yeah.
You know, some of it may be $20 item. I'm not going to meet somebody for $20 off of Facebook. You know, some people will, right? And that's okay. There's no shame in that. But for us, it wasn't worth our time investment because of the time, space, money.
And also, where we lived, it would take us at least 15 minutes to
To
get
drive.
into town
Right.
to meet
Yes.
somebody, you know? So and I didn't want people meeting at our house. I'm a rather private person in that
Yeah.
regard. You know, and then also knowing that we had a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
I just didn't want to come across the wrong person. So we would
Yeah.
have to leave. And so for
Right.
$20, I mean, we're
Not
spending.
worth
Yeah.
your time.
Yeah.
That's your
And
gas,
that's
your
where,
time.
Yeah.
you know, we were like, the problem then was we need to be able to move the items that we can't sell in our current selling modes. So we tried a flea market booth. And we opened it up during, you know, the pandemic times, and there wasn't a lot of traffic. And yes, we sold stuff, but it took a lot of work. Like we had to constantly go in there, rearrange things, make things different eye levels, different stuff to change things around.
Now, did you need to break your booth down every single time you
No,
went?
it was for
Okay.
us in Arkansas. Flea market booth is just a building where there'd be 100 vendors, right? And they had people that owned the building
just
and
rent the
employees
space.
that would man it. They would, you know, manage the goods. They would keep an eye on things and do that. So it's almost like a store that you
Yeah.
had where you could put your stuff. People would sell it for us,
Oh,
and it
awesome.
would, you know, consignment store you can relate it to.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, we just paid a flat fee every month and not like every time something sold.
Yeah, no revenue share or
And
anything like that.
we tried that. We grew. We actually grew in space. You know, because we had a place to put items, but in order for us to really give it a fair shot, we needed to give it a fair shot. Is this going to be a viable option for us to be able to move the stuff that we can't sell? Because we still had a lot of high piece count stuff that I'm not going to meet somebody for a $12 item. I'm not.
Right.
So we sold a lot of that stuff, and then, you know, pallet goods that we would get that we couldn't sell, we put that in there. Furniture items that we didn't want to meet people for, and it did okay. It made money, but it wasn't as fast as we needed to because of the volume that we were doing. Like if you were just a casual seller, more like a hobby, then that would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But for us, you know,
It
we
was
had
relieving. It
we
was-
we had an
We
employee.
needed that money to reinvest.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's
we-
something I think that customers need to
Yeah.
know. Like, okay, if it's a hobby, it's
Yeah.
good, it's working,
Yeah.
you have a stable income.
Right.
But when it comes to now thinking this is my business, this is my income,
Yeah.
I need something to move.
Yes.
You need that cash, that
Exact
positive
flow
cash
and
flow.
Yeah.
everything.
And that was part of our sourcing strategies. You know, with liquidations, cash flow is king. If you're not moving the stuff and you don't have money coming in, and it's not coming in quickly, like you're going to grow stagnant very, very quickly because you constantly need to be finding that stuff. You know, so we would try to find stuff that would sell quick. You know, we'd pick a pallet that those 3 items will sell very, very quick. I can get close to my initial investment back. And then I can reinvest that, and then the other stuff, if it takes 3 or 4 months to sell, it's okay because I got my money back quickly.
That's good. Now, when it comes to family, I know like you're a power couple, you're like have communication between you, then you guys decided to have kids. How does that work? Balance work, kids, and marriage.
It is.
Which season are we in?
You have to.
You know?
I mean, that I would give. If you had asked me that, 7 years ago, the answer would be different. If you asked me 5 years ago, it would have been different. If you asked me now, it would have been different. It changes. Because we have a lot of values, and really the main reason why we do this business is for the freedom to be able to take time off and go camping with our kids, or go spend time with them, or have movie night, or those kinds of things. I wanted to be the type of parent that my kids would remember always being around, and always being involved, and always being invested in them. And so in order for me to be able to do that, we had to set some boundaries with our business. But when your business is drowning, that's a hard balance, because like the reason why I have this business is so that I can spend time with my kids. But if I don't work on some level, especially when the business is drowning or when there's a hole in the boat, then there isn't, how am I going to even afford to feed my kids,
or even to take you to the camping, or
I mean, and so there's like it was always this balance, and with liquidation, because it is a roller coaster, like it ebbs and flows, right? So, but one of the things that I have a very different mindset about children. I believe that children can do life with you. They may have a shorter temper or shorter attention span, and you can account for those things. But my kids come to work with me.
I was gonna ask you if you involved. That's what, because a lot of our customers, or some of our customers that have that. Oh, but I'm a mom. Oh, but I'm not this. Oh, and I understand that.
It takes time.
Yes.
Because with my kids always grew up like this, right? They always grew up like. I was, working remember that first bin store we told you about? That bin store, the little thing in the warehouse. I worked that with my son strapped to my back. Like that was it.
While the other two were putting price stickers on stuff.
Yeah, we gave him a little.
Time.
And how old are your kids at this point?
11, 6.
No.
Then,
At the time,
when they're
then.
price tags.
there was one. She was 5. My oldest was 5, right? 5, and
she may have
then
been 6 then.
5 or 6.
5 or
She
6,
was the one,
yeah.
and then I had an 18-month-old, I guess.
Yeah.
19.
Probably 6, 3, and 1.5, probably.
Wow.
So the 6
Maybe
and 3-year-old are
6,
sticking
3,
things.
and 1.5.
Well, Jolene and Lucy are, I guess, 5 years apart. So Jolene would have had
She's
to have
4.5. They're 4.5 years.
4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like
So,
that.
either
Small,
way,
Joe.
tiny
You
babies.
know.
Tiny
I'm usually
babies.
very, very specific. Like
You
you
are.
ask me how long until you get there, I'm like, I'll be there in 12 minutes. It's not 15, it's not 10, it's 12. But this, I'm like, it's around that time. Like,
Somewhere around
I think
there.
we've been married for around 8 years. You know?
Well, I'm like and tiny babies,
Yes.
and my oldest, she could do it, and then our middle child, she tried, but we gave her her own little bin, and she had fun pretending.
You let them
Yeah.
do
You
it
know?
just
Let 'em
as
do it.
long as their attention span
Yeah.
allows
And
them
if
to.
they mess
Every
it
child
up,
is different.
if they mess it up, it's no big deal.
Right.
It's like the $3 item. It's like the
Yeah.
the things that we would And then my youngest, he was on my back, and so they grew up like
Yeah.
that. Now if there is a single mom who's wanting to do it,
Right.
there has to be a lot of patience, because it's going to take them time to unlearn this and then to go into that, and you can still make routine. You can work at this time every day, because there has to be a learning. Not just for the kids, but for the mom, or for anyone. There's single dads out there. There's all kinds of people out there.
Yes.
With responsibilities. A lot of people are like, well, I'd like to start reselling, but my parents are sick, and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that I think I want to be very clear about, and I want to be really honest about, is that you're never going to get to the point where you've arrived. You're never going to get to the point where your life is exactly the way you want it, because you're going to have a goal, and you're going to get to that goal. But by the time you get to that goal, you've already got other goals.
Yeah.
Because more things become possible that you haven't even. When we started this business, right? Our goal was really just to be able to work from home, and then we achieved it. And then what happened after that is, okay, well, I want to become financially stable, and then we achieved that. But then, as we were becoming more financially stable, our minds started to be able to think, well, how does our quality of life want to be? Now that we're surviving well, before I even got to that point where I'm like, I'm financially stable. Like I can buy groceries without bringing a calculator with me to the grocery store, right? I'm now financially stable. But before I even got to that point, I'm already thinking, well, what is my quality of life going to be?
Right.
And every single time you get to a goal, it's going to get there. So whenever you get to this point where you're just like, I would like to do, just know it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be exactly where you want it to be. And it's always going to ebb and flow. So the goals that you have now to resell, right? Once you start reselling and you start reaching that goal, you start working towards that goal, more goals are going to happen. So whatever fantasy lifestyle that you have, you're going to go beyond it. And you just have to work towards it.
Yeah. And I would just add on, like, we get asked lots of questions. People want to know where to buy from. What do I buy? Tell me where you buy.
Yes.
And I'm like, you can gather all the information that you want, but if you don't do it, it means nothing, right? So I always encourage people, just like you want to buy liquidation, you want to try this, find the nearest place that you can go and pick out a pallet and buy one. If you don't have money, sell the stuff that you have and use that money so that you're not out any money that you need for your groceries, for your car payment, for none of that, because don't risk that.
Yeah.
But you can easily sell $300 to $400 worth of stuff that you have and try it and figure out, is this
Sell
something
those
that I
extra
want
plates
to do?
you got on
And
top
that's
of that.
also
And
where
just
to
do
start
it.
teaching yourself to,
Yeah.
like, if you're a shy person,
Yeah.
like, go out. Like, cause you said, you have to deliver things sometimes when you're in Facebook Market.
You
and
have
eBay.
to push back through that fear. There's always going to be an excuse to keep you from doing it.
You got to start getting uncomfortable.
What do you want more, though? Like, what do you want more?
And at some point, you get comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Yes.
And it actually got to a point with me where, honestly, like a few months ago, actually, so I'm really thankful that I'm here because it really pushed me. It kind of reset me. But I started feeling very comfortable, and I did not like the way that felt. I'm like, now I'm stagnant. Now I'm staying. I'm like, I don't want that. I need to get uncomfortable. So I started pushing harder, and then I came here, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. And I'm like, I feel normal now. I feel normal. I feel good, But, the thing is like, success is not defined by how well you've done something or how well it looks on the outside. Success is like what's on the inside, right? So for me, like, a lot of people thought that we were successful at the very beginning, and I just told you we were falling apart. That's not success because I'm the one that has to live in that, right? But if I even have this like humble, if this is not what I was doing, and I lived a humble life, but I went to bed happy at night, and I went to bed doing the things that I loved, right? That's success. And we have this, like, I don't know what it is about our culture, but we have this weird thought about success. And really, the only person who benefits from that truly benefits, like, internally from that success is yourself.
Yeah.
So if you can push through the fear and go for whatever it is that you're dreaming for, whatever it is that you want, and you just take a step, just focus on that next step, and then worry about the next step, and then worry about the next step.
So how did the two of you get to this actual mindset space? Because I hear a lot of self-belief, never quitting, no matter all the chips are down.
I know.
And you both are still going. There's possibility, there's self-worth, there's accountability. That doesn't come natural to the average person. It takes a lot of inner work, overcoming hurdles, failing, getting back up, failing again. At what point does someone just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to go get a job?
At first, it was because I was tired of my life the way that it was. And I can't, And there are times where Joe drags me. He's like, no, we can't quit. Come on, let's go. And sometimes I'm dragging him. I don't want to do it. No, we have to. Let's go. And sometimes both of us just need to sit down for a second. Like I said, when we were humbled and we moved back into the garage, there was a few times, a few weeks in that period of time where we were just like, okay, like, I'm tired. Can we sit for a second? And we did.
And
we
that's okay,
listed
too.
Yes, we listed stuff because we needed money. Like, we're not going to sit here and starve our children. We stopped buying all the fancy stuff. I stopped buying coffee at Starbucks. Like, there were some things that I had to give up to be able to do that. Some things I had to sacrifice, but it was important. I needed that rest. I needed that minute to regather because we had lost significant part of our business, and it felt like losing a part of you because you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something.
Yeah.
And then you make enough mistakes that you have to be like, okay, hold up. Like, we've got kids, this is not what we wanted. And we had to sacrifice that part because what we were doing it for was for our children, right? So, and then we're not even seeing our children, or we're stressed out that our children are being children because we're so overwhelmed. We can do that, right? So, and so I guess how we got here was ultimately like, there was only two choices. It was to get up and do it, or to not. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't do it, then there's no shot. Yeah. But if I did, at least I'd have a chance.
Yeah.
And I was betting on that chance.
Well, you got to bet on yourself. What did you learn to bet on yourself? Right? Because no matter where you're at, whether it's
him,
she's like, she went straight out. She was like, Kim. She's like, she did terrible.
He did it first.
All right. Well, we're done. Thank you, Joe. That was great.
I think I've always, since I was a young kid, people would ask, "What do you want to do?" Like, I want to have businesses, and I want to make them better, and that's what I want to do. So it's like I've worked the corporate world, and I was miserable. I'm a very unique person in a lot of ways. I want it my way. Mm-hmm. Not that it's my way.
And you're sitting here making other people's businesses successful their way.
Correct. Right? And it's, it's like, corporate world, because you get all these mandates. Well, corporate says do this, corporate does that. But I'm in it. Mm-hmm. I'm working with these people. I know what would work differently and what would work better. But you don't have the freedom to try it. Mm-hmm. Right? But like on your own business, like it's all your freedom, but also the successes.
All your responsibility,
and
too.
the failures are all yours, right? So it's like I've learned that. Like, it's like, yes, I mean, being an entrepreneur, you are investing in the future. You're investing in yourself. It's like you're not putting all your money that you earn and then you're going and buying a 401k. No, your 401k is you, right? So everything that we have made, like, it's went back into the business. That's how we were able to go from our garage back into a building, had a 200 square foot store space, into, a 3,000 square foot building. Now we're in an 8,000 square foot building because we reinvested in ourselves because, that belief, like I can do it. I know that I can do anything, right? But she provides a balance for me because I don't want to sacrifice what's more important, which is my family. Because we grew up, I mean, I'm 43, I was born in 1980, and our generation, a lot of times, that our parents, our family, they pursued after jobs, after money, after all that, at the sacrifice of the relationship with their kids. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Everybody has their own choice. Yeah. I didn't want that for my family, but also it is a struggle to balance business and family. But I look at my kids and I look at Jessica and I'm like, man, like I blink and like Joanne, our oldest, just turned 11. And I'm looking at pictures, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like where is the time gone? So it makes me want to slow down more. Mm-hmm. But when I slow down more, I'm like, but then there's the business, there's the things that I want to do. And what keeps me going is like, I've failed. Yeah. When we shut down the warehouse, 5 years ago, like we had employees, we had to let them all go. I know what that's like to have to lay off people, and they're dependent upon you to have a good business to take care of their family. And then when you have to let them go, like that's tough when you are responsible for not just your family, but other people's families as well. And that keeps me going. It like my family, like putting food on the table, doing those things, living as close to our dream that we want of. We're doing it for the family, with the family, that they're part of it. Because, the other side of it, you could do it and like, oh, they're with this. But it's completely selfish reasons. Yeah. Because you're doing all the business and like, oh, they're with me. But they're not. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no connection whatsoever. You're not present, connected, you're just there. And that's what I want. And she helps me slow down so much to be able to pursue after that. And that's how,
I guess it's a balance.
We do it because it's the two of us. Like I couldn't.
He drags me sometimes, and I slow him down.
Slow him down. Yeah. Like, okay, it's time to breathe, and then let it out.
Because I'm go. Part of having ADHD, it's a superpower. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's like I'm gone. Like I'm go, 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 go. You know, I don't have a lot of hobbies because one, it's not safe for me to do it because I will hyper focus on all this other stuff. And whatever it is I'm focusing on, that's it. Nothing else matters. And so for me, I have to protect business, family, relationships. And I choose not to do a lot of other stuff because I don't trust myself, because I cannot do it because I've tried. You know, I've played some video games here and there, but I can't do all that.
3 weeks later, Joe comes out the man cave.
Right? But that's how I used to be, you know? When I was a general manager for Cracker Barrel, I was addicted to a game on my phone. I was playing that 13 hours a day. I'd be in the bathroom at work trying to run a shift, and I'm playing that game because I was so focused on it, you know? So it's not like I don't do that stuff because of the things that are more important. And it's just knowing what do you really want and going after those things instead of all the other things.
There are so many distractions out there.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, because we always say, oh, well,
Number one distraction right here.
This could be your strongest weapon or your biggest distraction.
Yeah, because we say, if I had time, I would do this. If I had time, I'd do this. And I'm like, mentally, you know, I take a register of my, if we balance, you know, we don't nobody balances your checkbook anymore with the old balance checkbook thing, you know, we write everything down. But if we would all balance our time, figure out where we are really spending our time, that tells us what's the most important thing to us.
Yeah.
And when there's a conflict of what we say and what we're actually living, that's the battle is inside. Like, well, why am I doing all of those things when this is what I actually want? And if this is what I really want, well, then why am I choosing to get on my phone and watch 4 hours of YouTube or TikTok or scrolling, you know? And that's where it's this self-reflection, it's the introspection, figuring out why am I escaping reality or my circumstance or my feelings or whatever.
And then figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And then deal with that.
And that's, you know.
Nobody wants to figure that out or deal with it.
Yeah.
Then they don't have to. That's the beautiful thing about freedom. You don't have to. But if you want what you want, then you'll do the work. And a lot of people will come to me and say, well, what pallets do I buy? Well, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, I could tell you all those things, but if you're not willing to do this work right here, this foundational work, it's going to fall apart. Ask me how I know.
Because that's
Ask
the thing.
me. Because I lived it.
Yeah.
I lived it, and I was miserable, and it fell apart. I'm about to cry. I'm like, I know what that feels like, you know? So I'm like, look, we're telling you all of this stuff, not so that we can brag about the fact that we're sitting here in this nice couch in LA, you know, like, that's not important. The thing is that you want me to tell you how to have a successful business, how to get where we are. This is how we did it, and we tried not to, and it almost killed us. So if you don't want to do the work, don't do it.
Right.
But accept the consequences thereof.
Because even if you pursue after those, you're never going to be truly happy anyways.
Yep.
Unless you do the work inside first. Because like, oh, I'll do these pallets, I'll do this, and like then I'll be happy. I'll have the money to do this.
Exactly.
And then, but then it's always, but then.
Okay.
You know?
If that's what you want to hold you back,
and that's
let it.
fine. You can, like, all those things are perfectly fine if for everybody that wants to do that, that's what they want to do. But if you want more out of life, you know, there's more to be had. I think Louise is saying our voices are getting all scratchy.
Yeah, a little bit. No via trading branding on these? All right, cover the labels.
You're so cute.
Thank you.
You got thirsty, that's why you bring us.
He's like,
Yeah,
I'm thirsty.
didn't want to be drinking himself.
No, I'm thirsty. You are thirsty.
Yeah, I mean, I think life is an inside job. I think everything on the outside of us is just white noise, and we need to be able to navigate it accordingly.
yeah.
And if we're not taking care of ourselves, like we had this conversation off camera before, and it's pouring. We can't pour into an empty cup. And if we're empty and we're just giving and focusing on all these distractions all over the place, we've got nothing left.
Yep.
It's a lot harder to avoid those distractions when you are empty.
Yes.
It's
Because
because you're looking for something
You're
to
looking
feed
for
you.
it, and it's the dopamine. And it's like, oh, I'm going to scroll again.
But
scroll
did
again,
you
scroll
know
again,
that you
scroll
can
again.
actually choose what feeds you?
I know.
And I think a lot of people, a lot
And
of
that's
us
a lot of
don't think
people-
about
exactly.
it. They don't think about that.
Oh, we choose the wrong place. Like, oh, no. Oh,
Yeah.
why I feel empty? Because probably you're not looking
Well,
in the
this
right
makes
place.
me this makes me feel better to scroll. You know, I
Yeah.
can disconnect. I can do those things. Why do you need to disconnect?
It's the excuse of the disconnect.
Exactly.
It's like well, it's too much. What's too much? Mm-hmm. Why is it too much? Why do you feel that way? Why is it pulling so much from you? Do you have good boundaries? Like, there's a process. You just have to. There's a podcast that I listen to, and they always say, like, get curious. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself these questions, and don't be afraid of them, because you're going to find things inside of you that you don't like.
No.
I know.
There are things, if you ask yourself those questions and you honestly answer them, there's going to be a point in time where you're like, man, I think I might be a
suck.
terrible person. Like, you know, like, you know,
Yeah, but like,
like
It's true.
yeah,
It's
I
true.
think I might be awful.
And you're like, damn, like,
But
am I this?
But then there comes a point in time in that road where you're like, okay, I accept that this is my reality.
And
Now what?
yes.
Am
And
I going to
that's-
let it drown me? And I'm just going to be
Yeah.
like, well, I'm a terrible person. There's nothing I can do about it now.
is what it is.
Or am I going to say, okay, I don't like this about myself. I don't think that's working for me. I don't think that's going to help me get anywhere. What do I do? And then get curious about that and then
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
same thing
And I
until you
think
get
that's
to the
the
bottom.
hard part. That's the hard part.
It's
a lot
hard
of
work.
People don't want to go
respect-
to that point.
I respect anyone willing to do it because it's hard for everyone. It doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter where you're at. It's hard for
Yeah.
That's
everyone.
the real job, I think. That's
Yeah.
the real job when you're doing that because it's, first of all, accepting it. One thing is accepting it, but another thing is taking action, like you said.
And there's a
Yeah.
lot of
And
people
if you don't do it, then you're gonna stay the horrible person forever and stop crying yourself.
And the worst
Right.
part is now you
And it's
know because
true.
now you know.
Yes,
like if you
and
go
that's
through the work and you're like, I think
Now
I might
you-
be a terrible person. Well, now you can't
Yeah.
unknow
Now you
that.
can- exactly.
You know,
now you know it.
And that's so selfish of you. Like that's so selfish of you that you know how horrible
Yes.
you are and you still ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Easier.
it's easier.
It's easier to just stay that
And you
horrible.
know
like
what?
that, honestly, I don't think.
But
it's
I'll
easier
tell
to
you right
leave like
now,
that.
you know, we're talking about people who buy and sell liquidation. We're talking about entrepreneurs here,
Yeah.
right? It is way more important for an entrepreneur to do it than somebody who works
Yes.
a 9 to 5.
Regular,
I
yes.
think everybody should do it. But I'm saying specifically that specific job title, entrepreneur, it's a buzzword. Everybody loves it, right? And so everybody wants to call themselves that. And then they wonder why all these entrepreneurs are failing. I'm like, because it is a requirement for you to find your weaknesses.
Yeah.
You want to find weaknesses in your business? That weakness is you.
You gotta
Yeah,
be self-aware.
Yeah.
A big reason why we started our YouTube channel was we wanted to empower people, equip people to be able to get out of their current situation. And we know money a lot of times unfortunately it's a sticky point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, you need food, water, shelter. Before you can really think about a lot of that deep stuff, like you need your basic needs met in some ways. And reselling is a tool. Buying liquidation is a tool that people can use to help alleviate their financial situation and create an opportunity for those situations to occur with diving deeper into yourself. You know, because it's like, you know, we're firm believers like, you know, live your dreams, you know, because a lot of people, they get stuck. Like they grew up wanting to be an art teacher. They wanted to be a musician, but then, you know, you go to school, and whether you go to college afterwards or not, you get into a job, and then you think, you know, you get married, and then you have kids, and you ultimately, you kind of get stuck, you know, because then you're stuck with the mortgage or wherever, and reselling, you know, with liquidation and any form really of reselling, it's a way to help you get out of that,
Yeah.
you know, to help pay off a debt, pay this thing so that you can actually pursue after the things that you actually want to do to help start that process of finding yourself.
I never woke up one morning and was like, man, I really want to resell liquidation.
That's what I was.
And
it's
it's
about
for-
segue
yeah.
into that. If
Did you
you're
even
someone-
like it? Like, did you even?
No.
Were you interested
It's-
before?
You know what I
marriage? Did you
wanted?
ever thought like
Do you
I'm
know-
gonna be a reseller?
Do you know what I
Like-
wanted? I wanted to be free.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have somebody else tell me what time to show up to work. I wanted to work. You know, I didn't want someone else teaching my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and stealing that time from me. I'm thankful that those
Yeah.
public and private schools exist because they exist for a reason, you know. But me personally, this is just personal. Like, I wanted to teach my kids. I wanted to pour into my kids. I wanted the freedom to go for a walk and take them outside and have these experiences and have my husband with me. But I just managed to find something that I love to do that is a vehicle to get me there, right? Because I never woke up and was like, man, I would just love to buy pallets.
Grab it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just like
Them, buy
We
broken
wanna-
items.
in one of the most inconsistent
Yeah.
niches
Yeah.
in retail and
We-
you know
yeah.
in consumerism. No, I didn't want any of that. However, it works, and I ended up loving the process, and I love the people that I've met in the process of it. We took something that was kind of a necessity and made it something beautiful,
Yeah.
and that's great. But our dream was never to have an 8,000 square foot, you know, bin store and all this other stuff. It turned out that way because when we poured love into it, it grew into something
journey.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, but ultimately, like our big dream was way more internal, way more inside, feeling free, feeling like we're thriving.
It's
You
like,
feel free. I know you're
oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, there's
It-
times,
it
obviously,
comes and goes.
we always say, a lot of entrepreneurs, like I own a business. Like, no, a lot of times, like the business owns you.
Yeah.
There are times where we feel that way, like the business owns us. When we feel that way, like we need to recenter, refocus somewhere with
That's
what
like
we're
the-
doing and why are we doing it that way. And because a lot of times, I do things out of fear. Fear of not having enough revenue, not having enough sales. What if this happens? What if that happens? But it's the one. I mean, people call it a job. This is not a job. Like for me, it's like I love it. It's the one thing that I've ever done my entire life. I started working when I was 14 years old, so that I've been working for almost 30 years. That I have not got tired of it. Every other job, I was bored of it. I would get so bored within a year and a half. Like I was bored. I worked for Chili's for many years. As assistant manager, and then they had me going into open up new stores. And if I was there for more than 3 or 4 months, I was bored. As a restaurant manager, if I was running a good store, I got bored and started underperforming because it was so boring.
Oh
right?
my God.
So I would a lot of times I would create chaos.
Yeah.
Just to have a little bit
Self-sabotage.
of.
Right. So then they would, I don't think they realized my district manager and stuff, that, they realized that never a conversation, but I could see like maybe they thought like I got bored, so they would always send me into trouble stores, and I would fix those, and I'd work my butt off, get those fixed and turn around, and then on to the next. But like with liquidation, like it is
It's
so
always
different.
a trouble store.
It is
Come
always
here, let's see.
changing. It is
Getting
always
bored.
changing.
Yeah.
Always
There's
changing.
no
Yeah,
time.
always
It's always a
changing.
trouble
There's
store
no-
somewhere.
You know?
Somewhere there's
Yeah.
trouble.
And there's a lot of like, in the industry, we have a bin store, but it's not a bin store. Like I call us a discount store.
Yeah.
We are a hybrid because we sell online. We sell, a retail section. We sell clothing, and it's like not everything is off of, a falling prices pricing model. And I see a lot of businesses that's all they're doing. And I'm like, you may be doing well right now, but like this business is changing. Like, what are you going to do a year from now to try to pivot? Because and then for us, like I feel good. Is it nerve-wracking at times because how things change and prices going up and stuff? But I'm like, I know how to do different stuff. I know how to try stuff. I know what works, what doesn't work. Granted, I don't know what will work, in 2024, but I know that I could figure it out because of all the things that I have tried and I have learned that I know, like, 2024, a lot of people are saying, it could be a weird year economically,
Oh, another weird year?
Yes.
Great.
And I'm like, all right, so
Just
me,
what we need.
I'm already trying to think, like, all right, what about, 2024? Trying to anticipate, trends in some ways so that I could start to prepare for it. It's like we just reorganized our store, we organized the layout and everything to get ready for a slower period that we're fixing to encounter. So we rearranged our store to make it look like there's more bins, but there's actually less. So
Way to give away the goods.
so guest perception, is
know.
that
They
there's
know now.
So, but also, I wanted to be ready for the holidays
Yeah.
because last
Holidays are
year
coming.
we weren't prepared because it was our first holidays in that store. But I wanted to be able to quickly be able to pivot our store, merchandising wise, to get ready for the holiday rush.
Yeah.
With the different programs that we carry.
So now talking about all this and forecasting, for
Yeah.
example, what advice would you give to somebody just looking to start getting into liquidation? Maybe that they're not ready to dabble, but they want to take
Yeah.
it seriously. They want to take it to the next level. What would you guys recommend?
I mean, I think we always go back to our, I guess it kind of be the time space, money type model. But I would think whatever it is try to figure out how exactly it is that you're wanting to sell the product. Some people, they don't want to meet people. They have anxiety or they may be living in a rural place where there's not a lot of people, but you can still buy and sell liquidation. It could be online, So you have to consider what your geography is, the demographics that you have around you to really know and understand,
So, for example, like in where we're based in Conway, Arkansas, right? Conway, Arkansas has 3 colleges. So what happens when those people in those colleges graduate? Well, they get married and they have families, and a lot of them settle down in Conway, right? We love baby items for that reason, because we have a lot of young families. So one of the things that I would suggest is figure out, okay, what's in my city? If you're a retirement home, like if there's a retirement home next to you, or you have a lot of older people, it's an older town, you probably don't want baby items.
Adult diapers.
But
That
medical
depends.
equipment, it could be, medical equipment, bed rails, those, those kind of things that definitely, I mean, we get wheelchairs in liquidation, we get, walkers
Shit,
and those
everything.
kind.
Yeah.
Things that would make life easier. So like, I know that, home decor, like people like home decor, but then also like, air fryers, toasters, things like that people might need to make life easier with less mobility. Those kinds of things would be really helpful for somebody like with an older community. So what does, if you're going to sell locally, what does your community need?
Right. I also talked to Joe when we just barely started talking,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh, what are the tools
Yeah.
that you're using in your online
Yes.
resale business
Yeah.
listing?" And I don't know if you remember what you mentioned to me, that one of the tools that you use a lot.
I think
Let's see if it's the same answer. Do you
Let
remember?
me see.
know,
I know that I remember. But he said
what-
one in specific that is popular right
there's
now.
a new thing out right now. It's OpenAI, it's ChatGPT. And we are using it a lot for us. And I encourage, it's, if you're reselling, whatever, if you may not be reselling, but to learn it, because it will save you a lot of time and money. We use it as a marketing content creator in a lot of ways. Customer service messages with all kinds of stuff.
We brainstorm ideas with it.
Yeah. And it saves so much time. And then it's like we don't have to hire somebody to do a lot of stuff. It can do a lot of it for us. Granted, but if you use it, you have to have a basic knowledge of what to communicate with it so that it gives you the information that you need. But with the people that's starting, you have to know. Like it's like you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna start reselling. Like it's easy, and you can do that. But at some point, there's more information that you have to have.
Yeah.
The community that you serve, like Jessica, online, all types of things of how far you want to go, because there's such a variety of product that you can get with liquidation, that it can be as simple or as difficult as you want it to be. But you just, wherever you are, just got to start.
Start somewhere.
Start.
And don't overthink it, because that's what you tell
Start
me
and
last time. Don't
overthink it.
overthink
And
it.
please don't start by buying a whole truckload.
But there's
I do
lots
not
of
recommend.
there's lots of resources. There's Facebook groups. There's YouTube videos. There's our email address. Is thefamilyflips.com. Like
I have an ebook on the website too.
just finding.
Written by ChatGPT.
Nope, that was pre-chat GPT.
But we can run it back through.
You know what it was?
your bed
It was
2020.
I did.
You know what I did to create that ebook though? I didn't have to recreate the wheel. What I did was I waited. I had a bunch of people emailing me the same questions about getting started.
That's what it is.
So
That's what
I took
everybody-
all those emails and I put my answers in an ebook.
Yeah.
So all the
Smart.
common questions that people ask, about, well, how do I get started? You know what? I got 3 steps for you.
There you go.
I'd sell them
And
to
there's
everybody.
people who monetize
Yeah.
that too. There's
Yeah.
people who are nowadays
And
Instagram is monetizing,
yeah, sure.
teaching you how to use this,
Yeah,
teach how to use
but with
GPT
that,
and
I'd say
reselling and
there
everything.
are no shortcuts
Yes.
that you can buy a class. You can buy that. That's just information. You can get all the information for free
free.
on the internet, on YouTube, right? It's not going to shorten your learning span because, you got information, all that. Like we're in the information age, but we still have a lot of people that
all
don't know
it is.
anything, because wisdom is the application of the information that you're learning. And the wisdom doesn't come but by doing.
Yeah.
But you can, it's like I flirted around with ChatGPT. I had it write me an ebook for how to sell on eBay. And it wrote a 20-page ebook in 5 seconds on how to sell on eBay. Talking about how to create an account, how to create pictures, what type of pictures to create, your listings, new, used, all those kinds of things, how to ship. And it did it in 5 seconds. So you didn't have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So the information is there's really not a lot of excuses except for
ourselves.
Execution.
As ourselves.
it's ourselves.
We are our own
Yeah.
experience.
We are.
As humans, we're in our own way.
Yep.
We are. And we can
Absolutely.
all do anything.
Well, to wrap it up, ask you a question,
you know.
Mike, that you always ask. at the end of the interviews? I love that question.
What'd you have for lunch? No, just
Not just, well, tell them.
Chipotle.
Did you have Chipotle for lunch?
Yeah.
We've name dropped so much, so many fast food restaurants. Famous question that I stole from somebody else.
Yes.
But we'll recycle it is, how would you like to be remembered?
Let's hear from Jessica first.
Why? I didn't think about that.
Okay, let's hear from Joe first.
It's
I know what my answer is.
Too late, it's Joe's turn.
Okay.
right. I think I would want to be remembered as a loving husband and father. It's like, all those other people, like everything, y'all, it's like everybody's important, but like it's the people closest to me. How will they remember me? Because like, oh, he built this business, he did all this stuff, like, but to them, I'm husband.
Yeah.
I'm dad. How are they going to remember me? Because then, for us, those are some of the most important relationships that I'm ever going to have.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's powerful because it shows what your values really are.
Right. And it's how are they going to remember me at the end of the day when it's all done? Like, are they, but then also it's like, I always want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. Like I want to hear that. And then if that's the case, then I know that I loved God well, and I loved myself well, and I loved my neighbors well.
What about you, Jessica?
Well, it's actually fairly similar, but kind of in a different, I see it differently, but like I want to be remembered as somebody who loved well. And I don't mean somebody who loved well in that I was always a doormat and nice and made people feel good. I want to be somebody that people could have trusted to call them out in love and know that I'm not judging them or being, I want to be somebody who led well. I want to be somebody who people trusted on all ends. I want my kids to be proud of me, that I was somebody in their life, and that they look back on me fondly. I want Joe. Well, hopefully, I can't go first. I mean, you can't go first. I have to go first because I will be so sad.
We've already got two things working. You live longer. Women live longer than men, and I'm 10 years older than you. So
I can't. Okay.
yeah.
Fine. I mean,
Not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying there's a couple things not in my favor.
Just Romeo and Juliet it.
Yeah.
well, listen. I was like, I was praying one day, and I was just like, you know what? I was like, if I have to go, I have to go. And we all do. But if I have to go, peacefully in my sleep would be nice, or doing something epic.
I know, right?
Like Will Smith in what is it, Armageddon, where flying up into the alien spaceship. I'll do that.
Is Will Smith in Armageddon?
Not Armageddon. Armageddon is the one with the what's the one?
Yeah.
Is it the...
What's the one with
Independence Day?
Independence
Yeah.
Day?
Hey, you were flying in the asteroid in outer space,
Armageddon doesn't
drilling
even
into it with
Armageddon
Bruce
doesn't
Willis.
even have aliens. Who is
Oh,
it?
that's
Bruce
true.
Willis
Yeah.
and Steve Tyler's daughter. What's her name? Liv Tyler.
Tyler.
Yeah. Yeah. In bed.
I had to point out
She
some
wasn't
stuff
gonna do that
because
on
I had to
that.
prove that I knew what I was talking about. I just said the wrong word. That's what that was. Anyway, so yes, I want to be known as somebody who loved and led well. Ultimately, for the same reason, I want to hear good, well done, good and faithful servant. That's good.
I mean, that's, similar feedback. It's both selfless and powerful.
Yeah.
Because the both of you are creating this business, and in the liquidation world, I mean, you are celebrities at this point.
Yeah.
And it could be like, oh, I want to be remembered for all the businesses and all the money we made and
Exactly. I
this
know.
and that and all the people we inspired. And no, it's love, it's humble, and it's family.
And there's a lot of people lost that in the process of creating a business. They
Yeah.
start with a couple, they don't work out, they have kids, they forget about their kids. It's just money, 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 time,
Yeah.
money, money, money. And like you said, where's my freedom?
Yeah.
I went back to start where I didn't want to be at. And it's
That
like,
becomes the
you know,
meter. That's the meter for our lives. If we feel like we're going down that path, we know that we're misdirecting somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing that.
I used to want that, and then I don't know, this transformation period of my life, in my early 30s, I listened to a lot of interviews, YouTube videos of people just talking to older people, just like, looking back in your life, one thing that you would have done differently. Almost all, like they were millionaires, they had tons of
Yes.
money. They're like, I wish I would have spent more time with my family,
Yeah.
with my
Yes.
wife and my kids. And I'm like, that's what I want. I want that.
Yep. I also want, I lost it.
She
gone.
lost it. But also, we're all called to not just live for ourselves or for our families. We're called to live for other people as well. And some, don't take that as like, I'm only living for them and I don't care about, as, somebody who is selfless. You can't, like, part of that is, like I said, loving your neighbor. Like, you can't just, like, oh, well, I love them very, very well. Like, but I never did anything else at all. 'Cause that's completely selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, life is a balance, man. It's, Jessica always talks about, the Bible talks about the narrow road, and it's like there's gutters on both sides, ditches, gutters, however you want to call it. But it's, we always overcorrect, undercorrect, but it's really,
It was actually, it came to me in a dream, when I was trying to I was like, which way is it? And he was like, well, it's kind of like riding a bike. When you first learn how to ride a bike, you're overcorrecting, right? So you always have to turn towards the fall when you're riding a bike, right? So you're kind of going like this, trying to find that narrow route. But you keep going at it, you keep working at it. And eventually you can ride that straight line in balance. And that just comes from riding the bike. There's no other way to go down that narrow road other than to just go and know that you're going to overcorrect and that you're going to mess up and that there's no point in time that you're just going to get on a bike and ride straight down the middle of the road.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
We got to give ourselves grace, forgive ourselves, and if we do our best, know that I'm doing my best, and I'm not always going to be perfect, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
And I noticed that.
That's
Honestly,
all we
when I
need.
was creating content with you guys, I noticed that you're like, well, it didn't work out the way, but oh well, I enjoyed it, I had fun, Oh, let's redo it. Yeah, we can redo it. Let's do it. Like, you were calm, you were not judging each other, like, and that's
I am the funnier one, though.
Funnier than Mike, too.
Yeah.
You know what?
This is your skate, Mike. This is your skate.
But
yes, it was a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, I never met you. I know Mike had communication with you guys. But yeah, like working with other people, something can be hard. But with you was just so smooth, so nice.
I say we
And I
made
was
a really
like,
good team. We all worked really, really well
I love
together.
the fact that you were also sharing ideas with us. And I like that.
Yeah.
Good job, Louis. You too.
So plug yourself in. Your channel, your website.
Where can we find you?
Where can we find you? Your store.
right here, sitting on this couch. Now,
This is my home now.
the easiest place is thefamilyflips.com. Everything is linked there. We're on YouTube. You can search The Family Flips on Google, and everything will come up. Google our website. We're all there.
Instagram.
Wow, that was really here.
Yeah.
Let me help you out. If you go to www.thefamilyflips.com, you can find all of our social media. We're on TikTok. We're on TikTok. I mean, I don't post a whole lot there.
Yeah.
But we're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And, I mean, really our biggest claim to fame is YouTube. So you can search us up there also. We do unboxings. We do vlogs, that kind of everything that we've talked about here in action. So we do that. And I write a few blogs here and there. And you can also find our email. So if you have any questions, you can reach out.
Yes. Do it. Don't be scared. Do
it. Little steps.
No, not don't be scared. Be scared and do it anyway.
Be scared, do it anyways.
Thank you.
Because I'm scared, but I'm here.
It's okay to be
It's the only
scared.
way.
It's okay to be afraid, but it's not okay to let your fear keep you from doing the things that you want to do in life.
So just do it. Just do it.
Nooks.
Good job.
Stole that from someone as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Peace. Thank you.
Until next time. Don't go this way though.
Oh yeah.
Don't do that way.
so do you guys
That
do an
means
ending?
something else in England.
In England, but we're not in England. I learned
Yeah,
that the
Our
hard way.
audience,
Our
though.
audience is in
Ooh.
England.
Yeah.
California. I learned that the hard way.
Let's do it.
I did that to a car
We should
driving
do an
by in
ending,
England.
but
They
you guys
stopped.
should say until
Yeah,
next
they
time.
came out.
Peace.
Next time,
I think that'd be
peace.
cool because it's like a total collaboration.
Mike,
crossover.
Mike does the peace.
What do we do?
Until next time.
The ending. Until next time.
Yeah.
You want me to say until next time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until next time.
You can do it,
Like
That's
the
how we
end
end
of
our
the video.
videos. Until next time.
And so for you guys to do it would be like the closing of a collaboration.
Yeah.
I think it would be really
Family flips.
significant.
Until next time. Peace.